How y'all doing? Good. All right. How many opportunities do we get to make a first impression? One. So why don't you all join me? Stand up. You at home. Let's all stand up and make a great first impression together. Everybody up. If you're at home, please stand up. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to count to three. I've got the hard part. What you're going to do when I count to three is you're going to come back at me with energy, with passion, with conviction, and you're going to scream at the top of your lungs, Tenbound kicks ass, and so do I. I'm going to review it one more time. I'm going to count to three. And when I do, you're going to come back at me with energy, with passion, conviction. Tenbound kicks ass, and so do I. One, two, three. Tenbound kicks ass, and so do I. Outstanding. Sit down feeling great. That's how we do it. This is my son, Carson. Who has kids? Anyone here have kids? You don't have kids? Were you a kid? Like everyone's playing. When I get home from a business trip like this, my son Carson is waiting for me at the door. Carson loves to wrestle dad. And last week I got back from a trip and I walked through the front door and we immediately go into the living room and we're wrestling around. I can still take him. So I got him pinned down and I'm just tickling the crap out of him. And he looks up at me with his big blue eyes and he goes, "Dad, do you know how much I love you?" I went, "Whoa, how much?" And Carson goes, "Infinities." And then Carson looks up at me and he says, "Dad, do you know how much I love Mom?" I go, "How much?" He goes, "Infinities." Pretty cool. And then he goes, "Dad, do you know how much I love my sister?" I go, "How much?" He goes, "One." Now, if you're a parent, you know I'm not making this up. But you realize at a young age that kids already understand the power of contrast. Things they like, don't like, hot, cold, winning and losing. So I thought it'd be pretty cool if we talked about winning today. Who'd be up for that? Yeah, you're in the right place. Now, you can't just start talking about winning and make it sound easy because winning is not easy. Winning is tough. It's going to take strategies, new strategies to figure out how to win in today's modern age of selling. That being said, it takes 7 no's to get a yes. It takes 15 touches to get a response. Thanks. And we heard 33% close rate, but the average close rate is closer to 20%, which means you're losing 4 deals to winning 1. And with human psychology, you need 2 wins to offset the pain of 1 loss. It gets tough. And despite all the investment that we make in tools today, $5,000 to $7,000 per rep per year, half the reps still miss their number. And if that's not tough enough, who doesn't work in an environment of high accountability, constant change, multi-generation, different need structures and reward systems? So let's dig in how we win against the odds. Who here has ever won a sales contest? Every hand should be up. Every hand should be up. I want to tell you about a contest I won. This is me in 1990. You're allowed to laugh. It's all good. But I won a really big contest. It was 1990. It was the third quarter. And that quarter, every qualifying sale earned you points where you could redeem prizes through a catalog. Anyone do anything like this ever in their life before? Yeah. It was pretty cool. I won huge. And the way it worked was at the end of the quarter, I've got all these points. And I have to figure out what my first redemption is. Now, remember, 1990. This is a 32-inch TV. It was a big deal back then. It was about 30 inches thick, but this is your 80-inch flat screen today. This is a big deal. My second redemption was a VCR. I had to find a way to play the movies. Some of you may remember this. My third redemption was my first set of golf clubs. And now I'm at a point where there's some points left. You're going through the catalog, like, what's that last thing I'm going to get? And I got the most unlikely redemption. It was the set of knives. I say it was an unlikely redemption because in 1990, I'm a bachelor in Tampa, Florida. And what room don't we use very often? The kitchen. That's right. We don't use the kitchen. But I want to tell you about these knives. One night we decided to use the kitchen. We actually cooked a meal, my roommate and I. And as we were cleaning up, I noticed that in the 8 slots at the front of the block where the steak knives go, there were only 7 knives. And I freaked out. Freaked out. So I start looking for that 8th knife. So I open up the silverware drawer. It's not in there. The hole in the sink where the food goes, it wasn't in there. And we have a very small kitchen. So I open up the trash thinking that we might have thrown it away. And when I open up the trash, sure enough, there's a fresh bag in there. And I realized that my roommate had just taken out the trash. And we got to go get this knife. So I convinced my roommate that we're going to go downstairs into the dumpster. We're going to find our trash bag and we're going to rummage through the bag until we find our knife. And we do. We go downstairs, we open up the dumpster gate, we jump on the dumpster, we find our bag, we rummage through, and sure enough, find the knife. Victory. We find the knife. But that's just the story, the beginning of the story. That's 1990. 10 years later, I'm now living with my fiance in San Diego. 10 years later, same block of knives. 10 years after that, 20 years now into this block of knives, now I'm married to my fiance, 2 kids living in Seattle. 20 years, same block of knives. 5 years after that, 25 years with this block of knives, same wife, by the way, that's important. Same block of knives, 25 years later. And then something happens. My friend Bill and his wife remodeled their kitchen. And it's the kind of kitchen remodel where there's marble countertops, stainless steel appliances, multiple sinks. It's a big deal. And he's having a little kitchen party. We get invited over and we get there a little bit earlier. And I go, Bill, how can I help? And Bill says, why don't you cut the veggies for the veggie platter? Cool. Walk over, go to his knife block, grab his knife. Whoa. Like this knife was awesome. Like the handle was hefty and the knife had like weight to it and the blade was really sharp, the way to cut through. And I'm having an experience with another man's knife. You can laugh at home, it's okay. But I realized like in that moment, like this was a badass knife. And I start thinking about my knives, like my knives. We leave the party, drive home, I slide into the driveway, run into the kitchen, go to my block of knives, and I look at them very differently. The little slots where the knives go in, they're all V'd out. From 25 years of putting the knives back in the wooden block, they're all V'd out. And the handles, they're all worn. And I know the blades are dull. And I know in that moment that this block of knives that I've had for 25 years, that I jumped into a dumpster for, no longer serve. I needed new knives. And that's what this event is. This event helps us take those metaphorical knives that we've been carrying around in our career, our habits, our bias, our patterns that no longer serve us as we move forward. We all put those down here today. Some of us may sharpen our knives. Others will get a brand new block like I did. And that's why we're here. You ready to go? Boom, let's do it. All right. Now, before I started selling, I used to race cars. I'm not going to go into a whole racing car story, but I am going to share something with you. When I got out on the racetrack for the first time, I learned really quick that there was more bad luck than good luck on the racetrack. I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. And it wasn't like I could have a mechanical failure and get out of the race. It wasn't that I could hit the brakes at the wrong time. It wasn't that I would turn at the wrong time. That's all on me. The bad luck is the driver next to me could have a mechanical failure and take me out of the race. The driver next to me could hit the brakes too early or too late and take me out of the race. And the driver next to me could turn in too early or too late and take me out of the race. And I'm like, what can I do to get control over these situations? Like, what can I do? And I figured out there were 3 things that I could do. Number 1 was increase the investment I was making in my equipment through my sponsorship money and my own money. How do I make the car safer, faster, turn better, stop better? Better performance. That's an investment. Number 2 is preparation. How can I best prepare for the race weekend? On average, 40 to 60 hours of preparation, just getting ready for the race weekend. And then 3rd was practice. Like practice the track. And we would practice 6 to 8 laps for every 1 race lap. And then I get into sales. And I quickly realized that there's more bad luck than good luck in selling. Not the stupid things I could do as a rep, but even if I did my best work, Like my economic buyer could get fired, promoted, switch jobs. COVID could hit. Priorities could change within the organization. Your competition could drop a price missile in on you. All of this happens, and I'm thinking to myself, in sales, what can I control to increase my odds, my chances of winning more often when these situations happen? So I came up with a methodology that I call SAM: story, activity, and mindset. We're going to jump into this. Story, the words that come out of our mouth; activity, the actions and activities that we perform all day; and then our mindset, our attitude toward the business, our attitude toward our accountability. So let's jump in. First, a lot of my clients say, do we need a script? Like story, do we need a script? Should our SDRs work a script? And I'm like, yeah. And they go, well, we don't want them to sound scripted. I go, the only way to sound not scripted is to actually learn a script. Here's what I mean. If you're just learning what to say, you're doing it all wrong. That's cognitive mastery. And it means when you know what to say, all of your energy is focusing on what to say. So you sound scripted. The next level is what's called emotional mastery, where you start to put the meaning, the emotion, the conviction, the influence and persuasion into the language that you're using to move your buyers, your prospects to the next level. That's learning how to say it. But again, if all your energy is, I know what to say and I'm focusing on how to say it, you're still missing the bigger picture. The bigger picture is when you know your script so well, not just what to say and how to say it. You know it so well that you don't think about what's coming out of your mouth anymore. You don't think about how you're using your emotion and your conviction and your persuasion. What you're focusing on is the distinction in the room, the distinction over the Zoom call, the distinction with your prospect, your client, whoever you're interacting with. And then you're making all of your changes in that moment based on what's going on in the room at that time. And you're trusting yourself that the words will flow. And you're trusting yourself that the way you say it will move your prospect to the next level. And that's physical mastery. So do you need a script? Heck yeah. You need to know what to say, because when you don't know what to say, you fall back to habits, and most people have really bad habits. Most people do. So please use a script and master it. The next thing I want to share about story is what I call the 3 Ps. Now, who here does outbound prospecting? Yeah, it's the number one use case we deal with our clients. Number one use case. Not just SDRs, but we want to get our AEs doing some of their own pipeline generation. But we don't want to spam. We want to make sure that we're putting out quality sequencing and cadencing. So we came up with what we call the 3 Ps. The first P is persona. And think of persona is who in the organization cares about what you're doing. That's who you want to talk to. The second P is the pain or the problem that you solve. The pain of the problem. Now, this is super important. You want to talk to the right person around a pain or a problem that they're looking to solve. And here is where you become relevant. This is why they should pay attention to you. You're here to help. You're here to solve. You're here to serve. The third P is your value proposition, and it's why you. Why should we trust you or entrust you as someone we should be talking to? And that's your credibility. So the 3 Ps. Talk to the right person about something that's important to them for relevancy, and prove your credibility in the process. Good? So that's us. That's story, a couple of story nuggets for you. Let's jump into activity. Now, there has never been a better time to sell than right now. I started selling in 1987. Now, if you're keeping score, who here was not even born in 1987? Few of you? All right, very good. Let me tell you what my tech stack was. We had no email and we had no internet. Like it wasn't out yet. You couldn't have it. So I had a desk phone, a two-way pager, and a fax machine where my POs used to come over the fax machine. Like that was high tech back then because I had the two-way pager. And I did everything. I used to do what we call set to, run to, sell a few. That's what I used to do. So in the mornings, I was my own SDR. In the afternoons, I was the AE running meetings. And then anytime I had in the middle, I was also the account manager and success rep. I did everything all day, and I probably didn't do a great job of unless the stuff I really liked, because I love prospecting. But that's how it used to be. That's just how it used to be. And 7, 10 years ago, we started seeing some automation come in, and it made us busier. Like it did things for us, didn't make us better. It made us louder, made us busier. So if you're doing great stuff, you did more great stuff. If you actually did bad stuff, you did more bad stuff. But then what happened is, in addition to the automation, we started getting like insights and data to replace our habits and bias. Like we started learning what was working. We started learning like what to do more of and what to do less of. And when you combine doing more of the right thing, doing more often, you can start to see how productivity and results start to go up. And then you start to see more and more role specialization. So now I'm not doing everything. Someone's working on the top of the funnel. Someone's working on the inside, middle of the funnel. Someone's doing onboarding. Someone's doing success. So you start to break that out and drive efficiencies. And we're getting to a point now where like the technology is getting really good. It's going to tell you what to do next, not just what now, but then what's next. So we're in a really cool place. But I want to bring this to life for us, just pragmatically. Who here has ever had a flat tire? Yeah. Now, let me ask you a couple of questions. Were you prepared for the flat? No. And do you practice changing flat tires? No. So we already know like the preparation and practice is not going to go well here. So you either walked out to your car, had a flat tire, you're driving down the road, had a flat tire. Either way, you're miserable because you don't know what to do, you're not ready for it. And like, where's all the equipment? Well, like most of us, like you have no faith that the jack in the car is actually going to hold the car up. You got a stubby little tire iron, and the lug nuts feel like they're welded on. Uh, the car I drive now doesn't have any of this crap. There's no spare tire, no jack, little can of Fix-A-Flat in the trunk that says good luck. Like that, literally, that's it. But let's say you're actually going to change your tire. How long would it take you to change your tire, realistically? Anybody? 20 minutes. Overachiever. Love it. So 20 minutes. 20 minutes, and you're going to have a few bloody knuckles. You'll be covered in grease and brake dust, and you're miserable, but you're back on the road. Now, let's take a look at what happens with a little preparation, a little practice, a little role specialization, and a little technology. And you've got a pit crew. Are they prepared? Heck yeah. The crew chief and the driver are letting everybody know that they're coming in for the pit stop, so they're prepared. Do they practice? Heck yeah, all week long. All they do is practice pit stops. Let's take a look at some role specialization. It's not just you or me doing everything. It's 6 people jumping over the firewall and servicing the car, the 6 people. So a little role specialization. Someone's got air guns, which by the way is technology. They got a jack designed to put the car up real quick and hold it up there. So we're seeing preparation, we're seeing practice, we're seeing role specialization, we're seeing technology start to come into play. And what you and I, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, takes this team 14 seconds to do 4 tires. That's what happens when you introduce all the elements. Let's go one step further. Let's add in more of everything, more technology, more role specialization, more preparation, more practice. This is an F1 pit crew. Now, there's a big difference here. Let's start off with role specialization. There are not 6 people waiting to service the car. There are actually 21 people sitting or standing in a U formation that the car drives right into. And everybody does one thing, like one thing. Everybody does one thing. Not a few things, but one thing. And the technology is insane. And I just called out one piece is the tire. Like in NASCAR, you still have that star pattern of 5 lug nuts. Here, there's one lug nut right in the middle. So you've got role specialization technology. And what does that get us? It goes from 14 seconds to 2 seconds. 2 seconds, they can change all 4 tires in an F1 pit stop. In fact, the world record 1.92 seconds by the Red Bull team. They change all 4 tires back on the road. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. There's also what they don't do. They don't refuel. That takes time, takes too much time. So they'll carry the extra gas load at the beginning for the benefit of not waiting to refuel during the pit stop. My friends, when you make the investment in the preparation, in the practice, in the role specialization, in the right technology, this is how you go from 20 minutes to 14 seconds to 2 seconds. Now, I want to talk about the M in SAM, mindset or attitude, and we're going to have a little bit of fun with it. Let's say that you show up to work and you've got a really good attitude, are you going to work harder or less hard? Harder. And when you work harder with a great attitude, do you get good results or bad results? Yeah, good results. And when you work hard with a good attitude and get good results, what does that do to your attitude? Yeah, it reinforces it, right? That's a success cycle. That's why the rich get richer. That's why winners win because they create their own success cycle. But here's what happens the other way. Let's say you show up to work with a bad attitude. Are you going to work harder or not as hard? Not as hard. So you can imagine working not as hard with a bad attitude. What kind of results are you going to get? Not great. And then you go, I knew this job sucked. No, this is up here is what's wrong. Like how we think about what we do. This is a decision we make every single time we show up to work is our attitude toward the accountability. I'm going to wrap up Sam and think of it this way because it can apply much bigger than just sales. Speak deliberately, move with purpose, and live by choice. Who recognizes this team? All Blacks. The All Blacks. Now, they're up here for a reason. The All Blacks are the most winning sports franchise of all time, over 100 years, with a 77% win rate. 77%. Now, what are they doing in this picture? Haka. It's like this ceremonial war dance designed to intimidate the opponent. This is how they take the field, by the way. This is how they come onto the field. Are they going to win? Yeah, they're ready to win. Like, in fact, you could argue the game's over already before it's played. This is incredible. You should watch the YouTube videos of what this actually looks like. It is menacing. And the other team is just showing up like it's any other game, and it's not. And it's why they're winning 77% of the time. And then you take a look at what makes this a great team, what the mindset, the attitude, where does it come from? Look at their values, how they hold themselves accountable as an organization, as a unit. Yeah, I know you got to know dickheads. I obviously can always tell when they get there. Took this right off the internet, so you can't hate me for this. But the point is, this is why they win 77% of the time. In fact, what I learned from the All Blacks is this: is that there's three fields of play that are going on, and there's the obvious field, which is the playing field. And all too often, we show up, whether you're on the front line, whether you're a leader, it doesn't matter. We show up in the morning, we just jump onto the playing field. We start making our calls. We start barking out orders. We start just jumping into coaching. Just jump right in. Anyone ever do this before? You just jump right into your day? Like too often? Like better teams don't go this way. Better teams understand the value of the second field, which is the practice field. And the practice field is where we prepare and practice to get ready for the day. So better teams start off handling objections, running through the way the meeting's going to go, really thinking through in a quality way how that story, activity, and mindset are going to play out in reality. But the best teams know there's a third field. And the third field is this metaphorical locker room where your rituals, your norms, your culture is formed. That's where the hard work is done, where you come together as a team and decide who you are and how you're going to show up. And once you've determined and committed to that, then you're going to practice like it's a game. And then you're going to play like you've already won. That's what I've learned from the All Blacks. I'm going to finish with a story. I haven't told any stories yet, so you let me finish with a story? Would that be okay? All right, just checking. Anyone recognize this gentleman? Who said that? Yeah, Luke Longley. So great story about Luke. Luke grew up in Australia, not a country known for putting out high quality basketball players. So when it came time for Luke to go to college, Luke came over to the States. He went to New Mexico State, and New Mexico State is known for hard work and grit. And Luke fit right in, had a storied career, team captain, got drafted in the NBA. Who drafted Luke? Yes, Minnesota. But he was quickly traded to the Bulls. And he wasn't traded to just any old Chicago Bulls team. This is the three-time champion, three-peat, under the leadership of Phil Jackson, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Luke is going over to the Bulls. And Luke just didn't want to join the Bulls team. Luke wanted to bring a little New Mexico State grit to the team. Luke wanted to bring a new standard of work ethic to the three-time champions. So Luke had a plan. Luke's plan was this. The first day of training, he was going to show up to the training facility 2 hours earlier than the rest of the team and start practicing. And then when the three-time champions showed up to practice and they would walk out onto the court, they would see Luke Longley already warming up, setting this new standard of excellence. So the first day of training camp, just like Luke planned, he woke up extra early. He gets to the locker room 2 hours early. And when he went into the locker room was empty, just like he knew it would be. And he gets changed. Now, have you ever gone from a locker room to a gymnasium? There's like this concrete tunnel, cinder block, with two really heavy metal doors at the end that lead out to the gymnasium. Well, as Luke was walking down that hallway, the closer he got to those two metal doors, the more noise he heard. And when Luke Longley pushed to open those two doors, every single Bulls player was already on the court practicing. Already on the court. At 2 hours early, Luke Longley is late. And I tell you this story because there is always another level. Always. No matter how much you've achieved, how far you've gone, there's more for you. That's what makes life exciting. And like we heard at the beginning, we're going to be exposed to new process, new technology to help us take our game to the next level as we go through Q4 into next year. And I'd like to say from Reggie.ai, if you're not happy with the quality and the engagement you're getting from your sequences and your cadences, please talk to us. Please come talk to us and let us set a new standard for you and how your content and content strategy can support your goals going forward. I will stay up here for a minute or so to take questions. You've been a ton of fun. And what can I do? I don't race anymore. I've been instructing for a while. Only to people who care about it. No, seriously. Like I tell stories, and I like the spare tire works, but not everyone loves racing as much as I was addicted to it. Yeah, yeah. Thanks.
Matt, I got two questions. One is completely agree on the scripting to get people ready and make sure that you have that base. How do you get people excited to learn scripts? Because we all want to freelance, right? And we don't want to have that wall around what we're going to say, it seems like. And then the other thing is, how do you bring that Haka spirit to a team when it's virtual these days?
So first, the first one was like, hey, like scripting is the way I do it, and like Joanne's on my team and VJ's joining. Though it's a condition of employment, and not to be a jerk about it, but like if you don't want to run our playbook, then you have to go work somewhere else because we've developed a sales process. And quite frankly, by the way, who here sells a product or a service that helps sales teams do better? Yeah, like a tremendous accountability we have because like our sales process can't be a shit show if we're trying to help someone run a better sales process. So we actually have to be enviable in what we do and how we do it, or we'll have no credibility to help anybody else because we can't even help ourselves. So we want to make sure that we've got a controlled process. So one, a condition of employment. So we go through about a 4-week process of how we get our script, and it's all the way through from the first call, discovery, demo. It's all scripted out. We create moments, we create engagement, but it's a process that we do, and we get it to a point where we have that physical mastery where we can have a lot of fun and make sure there's contextual relevance in there. But I would just say, like, you just have to decide as an organization if there's something you want to commit to or not, and hire people that will commit to it. And the reward is the payoff. Like, you'll win more. You will win more. You'll make less mistakes. And by the way, we've all gotten off the phone and like it was a bad call. You ever just get off the phone, you weren't your best? Like, you just weren't your best. We've all done it. And if you think about calls where you weren't your best, you probably weren't following your own process. You probably went off somewhere. And it happens. Like, I'll be reviewing calls and I'll hear my rep say something and I say, where in our script does that exist? And they go, it doesn't. I go, don't ever say it again. Like, you don't get paid to improvise like that. You get paid to execute. And it's no different in any other profession. Like, you can't work on an assembly line and decide to build a car differently. Like, you don't have that flexibility. And this is one of the highest paid professions. Do your job. The Haka thing, I think we're going to address in our panel, David, a little bit later, just in terms of how we think about, bringing culture, especially with the SDR team, the one that benefits the most from proximity and the dense learning, like just how we go forward and how we think about COVID, during COVID and post-COVID, how we think about supporting our teams emotionally, and then keeping that energy, keeping that culture alive. So I think we'll be talking about that later on in a panel discussion.